COVID-19 infections eaten deeper into the nation's fiber as Nigeria logs 38,000 cases. United Nations reacts with sadness to Boko Haram executions of aid workers in Borno State. In international news, U.S. state of California records 12,000 new COVID-19 cases, surpasses New York as worst hit states. And in sport, Liverpool lifts EPL trophy.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. We would have thought that Nigeria would be at this juncture 4 months after COVID-19 began festering in the nation. The number of infections continue to rise exponentially every day. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has reported 543 new cases on Wednesday, pushing the total number of infections to a chilling 38,344. As if calling for the nation to rejoice, NCDC reports 15,815 patients have been discharged. In that light, the nation should also mourn the 813 fellow citizens who have died of the disease. Lagos still has the highest number of cases at nearly 14,000. In very distant second and third places are the Federal Capital Territory with just more than 3,000 cases and Oyo State treating 2,219 patients. In Wednesday's new cases, Lagos recorded 180. The Federal Capital Territory owns 86, while Kaduna logs 56. 12 other states contributed to the new recorded numbers. The United Nations says it is sad about the Boko Haram executions of aid workers in Borno State. The UN humanitarian coordinator in Nigeria, Edward Kalon, said in a statement he was utterly shocked and horrified by the gruesome killings. He said it is appalling that Boko Haram terrorists stage illegal vehicle checkpoints unchallenged along the main supply routes used by aid organizations. The aid workers were abducted a month ago. The humanitarian coordinator says the Boko Haram illegal checkpoints disrupt delivery of life-saving assistance and heightens rates of abductions, murder or injuries to civilians. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the executions. In a statement, Buhari assured the citizens' families the perpetrators will face the law. He also said his government will wipe out every remaining vestige of Boko Haram from northeastern Nigeria. There is drama in Akure, Ondo State capital, where Eyitayo Jegede has won the governorship primaries of the People's Democratic Party on Wednesday. 888 of the 2,111 delegates at the primaries voted to give him the victory. Jegede, who was PDP's flag bearer in the state in 2016, defeated his rival, Agbola Ajayi, deputy governor in the current administration, who got 667 votes. The October the 10th governorship election battle lines have now been drawn. Jegede is pitched against incumbent governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, who was victorious in the All Progressives Congress primaries on Monday. It appears the chickens are coming home to roost for the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, in the NDDC allegations and counter-allegations. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, says he has instructed the clerk of the House to sue the minister for criminal offense of perjury. The Speaker says the House could also institute a charge of civil defamation against the minister. What crashed the roof on Akpabio is his failure to provide proof within 48 hours as demanded by the House. For his allegation, the lawmaker has held most of the contracts from the Niger Delta Development Commission. The Speaker said the body would not allow anyone to impugn the character of House members in an attempt to shift blame for bad conduct in office. Meanwhile, Akpabio has written to the National Assembly denying he said lawmakers were greatest beneficiaries of contracts from the NDDC. So much sexual abuse is committed with impunity in the country's rural areas. This was borne out this week in a case in Barwa community on the outskirts of the nation's capital. The case has attracted the attention of a non-governmental organization that is now calling on the president to take action to fight the scourge in rural areas. Correspondent Philly Haza has the details.
It's another day for Grace Jaffet to relieve memories to her husband that stir anger and a cry for justice. Her recollections of the rape of her niece in October last year. Grace's niece was only 7 at the time and was raped by a man in this community of Barwa on the outskirts of Abuja.
She was on her way back from school when a man who lives next door lured her into his house and had his way with her. It's been a traumatic experience for her, so we had to send her back to her parents far away from here. Despite the fact that we are poor, we've spent so much money in court trying to get justice. But up till now, the case is still ongoing.
That incident has spurred Grace to help tackle sexual molestation in her community by joining hands with a non-governmental organization called Vaccine Network for Disease Control. The NGO runs sensitization campaigns targeting young girls in rural areas. It teaches them how to avoid rape, report any incident on time, and take their education and well-being more seriously. According to the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, more than 2 million women and girls in Nigeria are sexually assaulted each year. Many of the victims are in rural areas and most rape cases are not reported. As a result, President Muhammadu Buhari signed a law in 2015 that guarantees justice and protects the rights of victims of sexual and gender-based violence across the country.
Out of 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, only 14 have signed the anti-rape law. 23 others, mainly from the north, are yet to do so. In the month of June, the government declared a state of emergency on rape and sexual molestation across the country in a bid to tackle the issue.
However, experts say passing laws alone is not enough.
Beyond the law, I think what the government should do is to make sure there's implementation of the law. That's where the challenge is. There should be a synergy between the hospital, the police, and the community. And then to make sure that it gets to its logical conclusion. And that logical conclusion should be publicized so that you know for a fact that when you do those things, you will be jailed.
The NGO also works closely with rural community leaders in identifying rape cases and tackling all forms of sexual abuse. Monday Kogi is the chief of Barwa community. He says the NGO has made a difference through its programs.
The issue of sexual molestation used to be a huge burden to me as a leader and even to the entire community. But since the NGO came in last year to help sensitize the people and enlighten us on how best to tackle the issue, the cases of rape have completely died down. I am now actively involved as well in the struggle for a rape-free community.
The hope is that efforts by the government and NGOs could bring relief to the likes of Grace, as well as hope to the many children facing the risk of sexual molestation across the country.
Coming up, African news. Ethiopia, Egypt, Sudan iron out differences in the Nile Dam negotiations. And later, international news. The U.S. state of California records 12,000 new COVID-19 cases, surpassing New York as worst hit states.
You are watching ANN.
See you tomorrow, Papa. I am happy and I know I'm free.
Now time for meeting. Any landlord when no show go pay fine.
Make I go call her.
House number 1. Present.
Papa, they don't start meeting you.
House number 5.
And they're angry that you are not here.
Just put me on the window there so that I can see them and I can hear them. He's not around, so his house is sanctioned. Present. I carry data for head, I carry him for back. Correct data when no dey payment. Say I know they know me, say I know they see your landlord. Talk to me face to face.
Explore without limits. Turn it up on MTN, the reliable data network.
Driver, fire ahead.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Egypt, Ethiopia and the Sudan say they have agreed to seek binding deal over the Nile Dam. Talks have continued on finding a common ground on the gigantic project that has generated a diplomatic sore point among the three parties. And correspondent Girun Chala has the story.
After the completion of the African Union brokered Grand Renaissance Dam talks, Ethiopia's government in a statement said a major common understanding has been reached, which paves the way for a breakthrough agreement. So, Ethiopia's government statement in addition said Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan agreed for further technical discussions on the filling of the GERD to continue in the African Union-led process and proceed to a comprehensive agreement. Ethiopia has already achieved its first-year targets for filling the dam. The government said the current rainfall and runoff situation in the region has helped boost water levels in the reservoir. Work at the dam continues while Ethiopia attempts to reach an amicable agreement with Egypt and Sudan. Ethiopia now wants to sign an agreement that could guarantee a win-win principle-based terms on benefiting from the Nile waters. And without that, Addis Ababa says a deal that affects its long-term interests is no deal.
A sprawling shopping area in Angola's capital, Luanda, has been sealed off after 2 coronavirus cases were recorded there. The city of China, with a population of more than 5,000, has some 300 stores that are occupied by Chinese, Angolan, American, Lebanese, Indian and Portuguese entrepreneurs and employs more than 3,000 workers. With the health concerns and the sealing off of the sprawling shopping city, most of the workers, including at least 300 Angolans, will temporarily lose their jobs. These workers have expressed concern about their wages and how they would provide for their families during the period of the sanitary fence around the shopping city. Residents of the city of China say they are complying with the government's health measures to combat the spread of the virus. The government says the shopping city of China will remain sealed until the virus disappears.
When we return, international news. U.S. state of California records 12,000 new COVID-19 cases, surpassing New York as worst hit state. And later, sport. Liverpool lifts EPL trophy.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. California is now the COVID-19 worst hit state in the United States. And experts say if California were a country, it would rank 5th in the world for total coronavirus cases, behind only the United States, Brazil, India and Russia. New York has more than 413,500 cases and has been adding on average 700 new ones daily this month. There is an average of 8 to 300 new cases per day in California. Almost 150,000 Americans have died of COVID-19, with more than 4 million infections across the country. Canada's federal court has described as invalid an asylum agreement it had with the United States. The country says America is no longer safe because it has violated the human rights of refugees. The agreement, known as the Safe Third Country Agreement, has been in place since 2004 and requires refugee claimants to request protection in the first safe country they reach. Canadian Federal Court Judge Anne-Marie MacDonald says the agreement is now unconstitutional because there are chances the U.S. would imprison the migrants. The ruling marks a major victory for Canadian immigration activists. The Safe Third Country Agreement is a policy implemented to better manage refugee claims and to avoid so-called asylum shopping between countries. Oxford University's scientists have developed a new way of testing for COVID-19, an amazingly fast process where the result becomes available in half an hour. Samples don't even have to be sent to a lab. Reporter Nicole Johnston has the details.
Testing for COVID-19 is not a straightforward thing, but now there's an easier way. And scientists from Oxford University have cracked it. They take a swab, add it to a cocktail of reagents, heat it to 65 degrees, and within 30 minutes they know if COVID-19 is present, when the solution turns from yellow to pink.
The important things of this test is one step, rapid, sensitive, and easy operation.
But they have plans to make it even easier. Think mouthwash.
Because at the moment we can use a swab sample, use nasal or with a throat sample, and that's also not very easy. So we're actually looking into use a saliva, use a mouthwash, because that would be a game changer. You can do it at home, very simple.
The quick result COVID test has just received British regulatory approval. Its overall accuracy is 92%.
The advantage of this test is it can be deployed very quickly and without laboratory, without very sophisticated operation. So if there's a outbreak like in Leicester, then we can send the people and they go there and then bring the simple equipment there and do the test on site. And because the test is actually very quick, so you can screen people rapidly and make quick decisions on the spot.
This is the final result of all their research, this small box. Inside are miniature test tubes, and from this you can test 10 people for COVID-19. They'll each get their results within 30 minutes. And the beauty of it is, these samples don't have to go to a lab. Scientists hope this test is taking the world one step closer to quickly knowing who has the virus and who does not.
It's always been a daily battle for nearly 1.5 million Afro-Mexicans. The communities have been working to change the constitution to earn basic rights in healthcare and education. Respondent Alex Doya-Beverstock has the story.
This is the Danza de los Diablos, or the Dance of the Devils. It's performed on South Mexico's Pacific coast, the region with the country's largest concentration of Afro-Mexicans.
No es de la África la danza.
These dances don't come from Africa, they are Mexican, but these instruments are African and we make them ourselves. Now the black people have united with the local culture and mixed with the local people along this coast, and we multiplied, and there are now many black people here.
This country is home to more than 1 million Afro-Mexicans, yet these are marginalised and often forgotten communities. They represent around 1% of the national population. Mexico's 2020 census is the first ever to include Afro-Mexican as an ethnic category. Mexico's legacy of slavery began hundreds of years ago.
The slaves in Mexico were in the places where there was mining. This town was founded around the year 1800, most likely by fugitive slaves who escaped to the coastal regions where they could survive on what they found here.
Today, that original African culture still exists in a state dominated by indigenous tradition.
Yet this stretch of coastline between Oaxaca and Guerrero states is an impoverished part of the country. There's not much tourism here, and local industry doesn't extend far beyond fishing and agriculture. Yet few black Mexicans leave to seek better opportunities, and those who do find the wider country not very welcoming.
Indeed, for Rosa Hernandez, the lead councillor of Santo Domingo Armenta, the Afro-Mexican experience is isolating.
We're a vast minority in this country, so that's why many people have never heard of us. They think we're from another country. They don't consider you to be Mexican simply because you're black. But we are Mexicans, and it's only fair that they recognize us, that they value us as much as anyone else.
As the Black Lives Matter movement around the world seeks change and equality for Black Mexico, the challenge for these communities is still at the point of showing they exist.
Up next, sport. Liverpool lifts EPL trophy. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
This is ANN News. In sport, Super Eagles forward Viktor Osiema is set to join Napoli from Lille. Osiema's move to Napoli was delayed by negotiations over the striker's image rights. There are reports of an agreement already in place. The move will cost Napoli 80 million euros. The announcement will be made on Friday. Osiema scored 18 goals and provided 6 assists in 38 games across all competitions for Lille and was voted the club's player of the year last season. After the thrilling 5-3 win over Chelsea, Liverpool are now English Premier League champions for the first time in 30 years. With fans not able to attend, the club had already put together a special ceremony befitting of their first top-flight title since 1990. Sir Kenny Dalglish, the last manager to win the first division, was present to pass the trophy over to Jordan Henderson and Jurgen Klopp.
30 years of hot about to end. Champions again! Liverpool! Soak it all in, lads. Soak it all in. Enjoy it.
Congratulations to them and their fans. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajuwoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.